Today I'm going to show you how to use all my favorite AI-powered tools inside Photoshop. We'll be transforming 3 images, and I'm going to walk you through it every step of the way. By the way, if you're just tuning in now, we're right smack in the middle of my AI storytelling series. I'm sharing exactly how I create 3D animated videos for my kids' channel, Bedtime Rhymes, 100% with AI tools. So far, we've generated the story using ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and then we generated all the images using ChatGPT's DALL-E 3 to make sure our characters stayed consistent from image to image. Those are the images that we'll be working on today. Because even though generating consistent characters with AI tools is easier than it ever has been, it's still not perfect. And that's where Photoshop comes to the rescue. So here's our first image. In the story, the king blows 3 feathers into the air, and as you can see, we've got way more than 3 feathers. So we're going to remove most of them. Simply hit J on your keyboard to toggle the Remove tool. You can also come over here and long press this button to find the same tool. Then all you have to do is brush over anything you want to erase, and Generative AI automatically figures out how to fill in the background. This works seamlessly most of the time, but if you get any results that look odd, simply hit Splat and Z to undo it and try again. Or you can just go over the odd results and see if that fixes it. Sometimes that works too. Oh, by the way, Splat is what I call the command key on my Mac, because of the little icon that looks like this. If you're on a PC, in most cases you can replace any splat keystroke I'm calling out with your control key. Okay, there we go. We're down to 3 feathers, and this image now matches the story. Great. Let's move on. So, in our second image, there are a few things I want to change, but I always start every Photoshop edit by selecting the main background layer and hitting Splat plus J to duplicate it. This way, I can always see or revert back to the original image. In this case, I'm going to hit Splat plus J one more time to create a second copy. In the story, these brothers are running in opposite directions. One is chasing a feather to the west, and the other is chasing a feather to the east. This image makes it look like they're running in the same general direction, so I'm going to fix that by creating 2 separate images. I hit M to select the rectangular marquee tool, and then I click and drag to select one of the brothers. Then I tap Delete on my keyboard to erase that part of the image. You can't see it yet on the main screen because I've got all 3 copies of the image visible, but once I toggle these layers off, you can see what I've done. So now I'm going to select the other copy and do the same thing with the other brother. This time, I'll make sure only the layer I'm working on is visible so you can see what I'm doing. Then I go up to Select at the top of the screen, which you unfortunately can't see, sorry about that, but it's along the menu that runs across the very top of your screen. And under that Select menu, I'm going to find and click on Inverse. And an even faster way to do this is by using the keyboard shortcut Shift plus Splat plus I. As you can see, this inverted our selection. It made it the opposite. It deselected the part of the image that was selected and selected all that wasn't. So now our other brother is selected and we can delete him from this layer. We'll work on the blonde brother's image first. I hit Splat and D to deselect this empty area we just deleted. Then I hit J to access the Remove tool again. I'm just going to brush over these remnants of the other brother's clothing and shadow over here. Perfect. I hit V to toggle the Move tool. Then I'm going to click on the image and drag it to recompose it. I want him to be back here, so he's got plenty of space ahead of him. Now I hit M to return to the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to select the empty space on the right, making sure I grab a few pixels of the image part too. So whenever there's a selection made, you'll notice that the generation tool appears down here. So I click in and I just type in my prompt. Extend background works every time. There, not bad, right? We'll do the same thing on the left. Click, drag, generate. Let's extend the background over here too. Okay, now we're going to select the dark-haired brother's image and do the same thing. You may notice that now you've got some extra layers over here. Every time you generate something, Photoshop creates a new separate layer in your layers palette. It also gives you 3 generations to choose from, but we'll explore that in just a minute. First, let's reposition this boy. V for the Move tool and M for the Marquee tool. Select, extend background, and generate. Do the same for this side too. Now, you see this 1 out of 3 text next to the prompt text box? Just click the arrows to scroll through those 3 options Photoshop created for you. None of these are perfect, but I'm trying to decide between number 2 and 3. Which one will be the easiest to fix? I think I'll go with number 3. And I think number 3 is the best choice on the other side, too. Okay, now I'm going to make these layers invisible so I can take a look at our options for the other boy. I think I'll stick with the first option for this side. Let's take a look at what we've got on the right. Number 3 works for me. Okay, now I'm going to select all 3 layers of this image so I can merge them together. You have to hit Shift as you click on each layer to select more than one at a time. Then click the menu button at the top right of your layers palette to bring up this menu. Look for Merge Visible. You can also use the Shift and Splat and E shortcut. That merges these 3 layers into one. Now I'm going to make this layer invisible so I can merge the other layers. You have to make sure that anything you're merging is visible and anything you don't want merged in is invisible. So we'll do the same with the 3 layers for the dark-haired brother. Shift and click each layer and merge visible. There, now we have 2 separate images of the brothers. But I still have a couple quick edits to make to polish these up. So with this image, I want to keep only the largest, topmost feather. This is where he's looking, and in the story, each brother is only chasing 1 feather. So I hit J to get back to my handy-dandy remove tool, and I'm going to brush over most of this awkwardly long bit to shorten it. Okay, that looks good. Now I've just got to go in and remove all the rest of these feathers. Let's zip through that. There, all done. Here's a comparison from the original image to this one. Now let's see what we have to work on with this other image. I think we just have a few more feathers to remove. Okay, now looking at his line of sight, I think I'd like to move the largest feather up here first. So to do that, we're going to use another tool, the clone stamp. Hit S to access this tool. You can also find it over here. It looks like a little rubber stamp. So basically, we're going to sample the large feather by holding Option and clicking anywhere on the feather. I like to start at one end, so I only have to draw in one direction. So I Option clicked at the tip of this feather, and now when I let go and move my cursor, you can see the part of the image that I copied inside, right? So I'm going to line this feather up with where our bro is looking, right about here. Now I just click and drag to brush or stamp in this part of the image. If you look at the original feather while I'm doing this, you'll notice a cross floating over the area that I'm copying. This can help you to gauge where you want to stop so you don't copy too much. Okay, before I finish cloning this feather, I'm going to hit J so I can use the remove tool to get rid of this other feather, so I can see what I'm doing. As you can see, I still copied a bit too much, so I'm going to zoom in. Splat and plus is how I do that quickly, and splat and minus is how I zoom back out. And I'm going to return to my Remove tool by tapping the J key to get rid of this little bit over here. And just another quick little bit of keyboard shortcut gold, I'm using the left and right brackets on my keyboard to quickly change the size of my brush. And this works in all of the brush type tools in Photoshop, so it's a huge time saver to learn this early. So now I'll make my brush a bit bigger so I can remove the rest of these feathers. Okay, that looks good, but I think I'm just going to crop it a bit. I hit C for the crop tool. Then I'll make sure I save a copy of this image by hitting Option, Splat, S. You PC users will have to look that one up, but you can always go to File in the top menu bar and find all the save options there too. Make sure you undo that with Splat plus Z after you save, and I'm also going to crop and save the other image. And finally, I'm going to save the PSD document, the Photoshop document, in case I need to access any of these edited layers later on in my video editing. Okay, so now we're on to our third image. And the rings in this image look way nicer than they're described in the story. So we've got to fix that. I'm going to duplicate the background, as usual, with Splat J. And then I'm going to hit the Q key to enter Quick Mask mode. You can tell when you're in Quick Mask mode when your current layer is tinted red. Now I'll hit B to select the brush tool. And then I'll make sure to tap the D key to change my color palette to the default black and white. I have black selected. As you can see, it's in the foreground. And with black, I can paint in the selection I want to make. Well, I'm actually painting in the opposite of the selection I want to make, but that's kind of confusing. Just hang on, you'll get it in a minute. So I'm going to go in and paint what I want changed in this semi-transparent red. Don't be confused by the color. You're not actually painting anything. It's just marking off part of your image so you can see where the selection will be. You can hit X to toggle between black and white. If you color out of the lines, just hit the X key to switch back to white, and any of the red areas you paint over will be erased. Toggle the X again to leave the erasing mode and get back into paint mode. You'll see the black and white colors at the bottom of your toolbar swap places every time you do this. Now, here's the cool part. Hit Q again to leave Quick Mask mode, and you'll notice you've made a selection. Now, I actually made a common mistake that I left in here so I can show you how to fix it. Here, you'll see what happens when I try to generate something. I was trying to regenerate the rings, but everything but the rings has transformed. Let's undo that so you can see what I did wrong. So it looks like this area is selected, but when you zoom out, you'll see that the selection is actually everything but the rings. See that dotted line around the entire image? So luckily, this is a really quick fix. All you have to do is hit Shift Splat I so you can inverse the selection like we did in our last image. Now you'll see that that dotted line has disappeared from the outer border. And now the rings are actually selected. So let's try again. I'm typing rusty rings into the prompt box. Let's see what we get. There we go, now we're getting somewhere. One of these could definitely work, but I want to see what else we can get. Yeah, I think I forgot to mention that before. If you don't like your 3 options, just tap Generate again to see what else you can get. You can also edit the prompt and regenerate it too. But after all that, I think I prefer one from the first round anyway. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. Okay, well, that should get you started working with generative AI inside Photoshop. Of course, I did a bunch more image editing to get all the visuals ready for my story. I'm zooming through another recording I made to give you a little teaser, but this is all I have time for today. If you want more videos about using Photoshop's AI tools, let me know in the comments, and I can slow this video down and give you the play-by-play. Otherwise, I'll be moving on to the next fun-filled AI tool next week. Subscribe if you want to make sure you get all the deets on how to play with more AI magic. And make sure you check out this playlist right here if you're interested in learning more about how I create AI stories from scratch using a variety of my go-to AI tools. I've got at least 3 more videos planned for this AI storytelling series, so you're not going to want to miss that. Until next time, my friends, keep creating.